Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Galladay, formerly Caitlin Watanaporn, and I am one of the authors of one of the articles you were assigned for class this week. I'm currently a third-year doctoral student at Arizona State University, and I co-authored this paper with my faculty advisor, Dr. Christy Holtfreder, back in 2012 during my master's program. So Dr. O'Neill has asked me to create this video for you today to discuss a little bit about my paper, and specifically I want to chat with you a little bit about the background behind this paper and why we wrote it, and then also emphasize the importance of considering gender when it comes to creating criminal justice policies. So a little bit about the background behind this paper. It was specifically written for the journal Feminist Criminology. Feminist Criminology serves as the flagship journal for the Division on Women and Crime, which is a division within the Greater Society, American Society of Criminology, that a lot of criminologists are a part of. So Feminist Criminology had an issue celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Division on Women and Crime and was asking for papers that emphasized specific areas of feminist criminology that have been really important. Unfortunately, this paper didn't make it into that special issue, but it was accepted into a later issue of Feminist Criminology, so we felt that the content was still really important. And so we really wanted to emphasize Daly's Feminist Pathways work and show how it has become one of the most important pieces of work when it comes to studying female criminality. So Daly's work has not only become really important when studying female crime, but it has inspired many replication studies. It's inspired expansions of the pathways beyond just her 5 original pathways, and it's also become really important when it comes to informing things like criminal justice policies. And so our paper shows that there are many differences between men and women and why they choose to engage in crime. So this could be the motivations behind the crime, this could be their driving forces behind why they're committing crime, and the pathways clearly show that these motivations and driving forces are different for men and women. Also different is the different types or the different roles that females play in the crime. So for instance, the role of a woman may differ in the crime based on whether or not she is acting alone or with an intimate partner. And so acknowledging these differences and studying these differences has helped inform us on potential unique and gender-specific risk factors that women may face when it comes to their risk factors for engaging in crime. So when it comes to studying theory and assessments and criminal justice policies, I like to think of these things in 3 different steps. So the first step would be a theoretical background. And in our case, we used Daly's Feminist or Female Pathways to Crime as our theoretical background. So this shows the unique reasons why women engage in crime that may be different from men. And so by using this theoretical background, you can make a theoretically informed assessment. So this assessment ideally would be gender responsive or gender specific to female offenders. And so with that development of a gender-responsive assessment, you can then move on to the 3rd step, which would be creating criminal justice policies that use that gender-responsive assessment. So to kind of sum all of that up, you can't have a gender-responsive assessment without first knowing or having a theoretical background behind that assessment, and you can't have gender-responsive policies and programs without first having a gender-responsive assessment. So this is often referred to as risk-need responsivity, or R&R, and so this is where you evaluate the risks and needs of offenders generally upon entry into prison, and this helps inform the different types of treatments or programs that they may need while in prison. So that would be the responsivity part of the R&R. And so this helps offenders have a successful and productive time not only just in prison, but it also helps them have a successful reentry from prison. And so a successful reentry from prison into society would ideally lead to lower recidivism rates. So a common R&R tool is the LSIR, or the Level of Service Inventory Revised. And so the LSIR claims to be gender neutral. However, it has been found to overclassify a lot of women, which results in increased social control, which can then decrease their access to treatments and programs that may be beneficial to them while in prison. So in order to try and combat that overclassification of women by the LSIR, Dr. Van Voorhees and her colleagues created a supplement to the LSIR, which is deemed the trailer, which used feminist theories to, as a theoretical background, to kind of base their supplement on to make it more of a gender responsive assessment. And so that has helped better classify women into their different levels of security needs, their different needs and risks when in prison, and has also helped in getting them the proper treatment and programs that they need while in prison. So we've discussed a little bit about why it's important to consider gender when creating policies and practices to once somebody is engaged in crime in the first place, but they're also important for preventative measures as well. So while it can be an important thing to consider with reactive policies and practices, it also helps with prevention in the first place. So if you look at the different pathways, the female pathways to crime that Daly acknowledged, one in particular is the harmed and harming woman. She is oftentimes somebody who was abused in her in her past and now acts out violently towards others to cope with her past victimization, or may abuse substances to help her cope with her past victimization. And so knowing that these are specific risk factors that some women may face that increase their likelihood to engage in crime, these are also things that agencies can look at to try and help prevent crime from happening in the first place. So for example, for the harmed and harming women, agencies can increase access to things like counseling or substance abuse treatment to try and combat things that may be criminogenic factors in the future and help prevent crime from happening in the first place. So I hope this little lecture and this paper helped you understand a little bit more about why it's important to consider gender, both theoretically and when it comes to creating assessment tools and implementing and developing criminal justice practices and policies. So I hope you enjoyed this paper and this brief video, and Dr. O'Neill has my contact information. If anyone has any further questions, I would be happy to chat with you. Thanks!